Hi ladies, welcome to our Panimi. This is Saratova Best. Here's the question just before Shavuot, just before the giving of the Torah. What's your tattoo? Tattoo. Isn't tattoo something that according to Jewish law you're not allowed to have? So what do I mean by tattoo? And in a minute I'm going to tell you a really very poignant story of a tattoo. But first I want to ask about yours. What do I mean by tattoo? Those pictures that we imprint on ourselves, the picture of all of our experiences of life, my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, my cousin, my aunt, my teachers, my principal, my boss, they said, I am because of that, where I live, how much money, all of that stuff that we decided is who we are and is imprinted all over us, especially on our face. We made that decision that those circumstances made us who we are, and we kind of walk around with that imprint, that, let's call it a tattoo. Is that our only reality? Is that my only identity? Last week we talked about that there's a higher identity, a deeper one. That's not just the superimposed ink on paper, ink on parchment, ink on your face paint tattoo, but there's a higher reality to you, and that's the level in which you have something engraved in you: holiness, potential, beauty, light, godliness, all engraved in you. You are one with it. That's a whole other frequency. That's way beyond your tattoo. That's not something that can be scratched off, washed off. That's not face paint. That's not even chosen. That's the way we were born. Factory installed download of how we were born. Is it good? Is it not good? Does it make us feel more optimistic? And which frequency would we like to live on? And as we prepare to receive the Torah this week, which do we choose? The engraved one or the face paint tattoo? So let me tell you a poignant tattoo story. There was a rabbi who became a chaplain, a prison chaplain. And he went around to different prisons and he spoke to the Jewish inmates. And when he came to a certain prison, there was someone there who was ferocious. Ferocious. He was so frightening that they had him chained to the wall because he was so vicious and he was so uncontrollable. They literally had him chained to the wall most of the time. The rabbi came to visit inmates. He spoke to this fellow, asked him, had a suspicion that maybe he's Jewish, asked him, and it turned out that this ferocious, chained to the wall, scary, uncontrollable, out of bounds, completely tattooed with ugliness and pain and darkness and corruption and depravity, this tattooed individual was actually Jewish. So the rabbi got around to speaking to him about putting on tefillin, and believe it or not, he agreed. Because remember, behind the scenes secret, if you're going to look at your tattoo, your face paint, what circumstances have made you look like, it's one thing. If you're going to look at your engraved reality, it's something totally different. So he said yes, he would put on tefillin. As he rolled up his sleeve, what do you think he had on his arm? A tattoo, obviously, that was about as immodest as you can possibly fathom. It was with all the decorations of supremely immodest. But a Jew is a Jew, a Jewish arm is a Jewish arm, and so the rabbi helped him wrap tefillin on his arm, and of course this maniac chained to the wall individual began to cry and was deeply affected and kind of moved into his engraved reality, his engraved frequency and identity, in which he felt Yisrael v'Kudsha B'Richu Kol Echad, his unity with God and with Torah. Even though his lifestyle and his tattoo was completely the opposite. They talked a little bit more, the rabbi left, that was it. A few weeks later, the rabbi came back again, and here was this chained to the wall guy, and he said, "Rabbi, I'd like to put on tefillin again." That's surprising, right? If he's so tattooed with so much ugliness and depravity and corruption and ugliness and crime and horrificness, why would he ask to put on tefillin? Because he has an engraved identity that's totally different, the diametric opposite. So he asked to put on tefillin again, and as he rolled up his sleeve, his arm was bloodied, scratched, wounded, bruised, but literally full of blood and gouged. The rabbi asked, "What happened?" And he said, "Rabbi, I knew I wanted to put tefillin on again, and I really felt that this tattoo was really not appropriate for an arm, to be on an arm that was going to put tefillin on. And so I spent these past few weeks scratching and gouging my skin to scratch the tattoo off of my arm." So much for the depraved individual. Now we can imagine that scratching a tattoo off was pretty painful. No one told him to, no one asked him to. This is something that he just decided on his own. So who is he? His tattoos show that he's a pretty horrific underworld individual that has no place in this civilized world, no place in the world of the God of Israel. That's what his tattoos say. But his engraved being says, "I am one with Melech Malchei Amlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with God, the God of Israel. I am one with Torah, one with the Jewish people, one with God Almighty. Anything that gets in the way of that oneness, I will eliminate, no matter how great the pain is." Okay, so we understand. If he has two identities, we have two identities. He's really an extreme example. He's a window for us to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, who are we? Who am I? Who was he? Was he the tattooed, chained to the wall, underworld monster? Or was he that engraved, beautiful Jew that could not bear any chatzitza, any intervention between the tefillin and his very Jewish arm? Who was he? Who is he, really? And who are we, really? Are we that tattooed individual? Do we have all the experiences of our life face painted all over our face? This is what they did, this is what they said, this is who I've become because of all these circumstances. Is that me? Or is the real me the one that is engraved? As we said last week, Cheres ala luchos, freedom in these luchos, engraved just as the letters of Torah are engraved in the luchos. The essence of God himself and the essence of the Torah is engraved in my being. So when I'm approaching these days of Matan Torah, of Shavuos, of receiving the Torah, it's all about me, God, Torah, world. That's what it's all about. What is my relationship with them? And as I said at the beginning, there's my tattooed relationship. It's been so tough. Life has been so hard. I don't know if I can do this stuff. This isn't really me. That's the tattooed me. The engraved me is pure, luminous, beautiful, sensitive, let's say not me, the engraved you is godly, holy, beautiful, sensitive, luminous, plus plus. So surely, ladies, as we're preparing for the festival of Matan Torah, surely we will make a resolution to do what it takes to step into that engraved identity, to move past of how we've painted our face to the world and to ourselves, move into our engraved identity, Yisrael b'Kudsha B'Chad, Kulachad, we're one with God, we're one with Torah, and receive the Torah in a way that as we wish each other, it should be Kabbalas the Torah, B'Simcha B'Pnimius, a receiving of the Torah with joy and inwardness, and it should be immediately now. Thanks so much.